gentlemen, the Your Illini Nation pregame show here from the concourse at Madison Square Garden. It's your Jimmy V Classic. Andy Olson and Derek Piper with you here as we get you set for tonight's game. And it should be an interesting one here, Derek. A top 20 matchup. Illinois, I'm going to say it's the toughest matchup of the season so far. I know they've had some tough ones, especially out in Vegas, but I think this is the one that takes the cake, at least at this point of the season.
Yeah, you draw number 2 in the country, unbeaten Texas squad. They haven't played outside of the Long State quite yet, but it's a very good one when you look at the outstanding guard tandem, Tyrese Hunter, Marcus Carr. A lot of athleticism, a lot of depth, an experienced team, similar to Maryland, similar to Virginia. But man, a big-time atmosphere. You're at the Garden, bright lights. You think about some of the big-time moments in basketball history here on this court. MJ double nickel, the John Starks playoff battles, Bulls and Knicks, Kobe, Reggie Miller, Spike Lee. But yeah, for Illinois, it's a great chance to add a marquee win right next to UCLA to your resume for March. And this is kind of that trial run as you go through this early part of the schedule and figure out, okay, we're going to play on a neutral floor against one of the best teams in the country. That's what you ultimately do in the big league, and so great chance to test yourself and see where you stack up against one of the country's best.
Hey, you mentioned some of the moments here at Madison Square Garden. We're sitting right next to it. Looks like the warm-up gear from Patrick Ewing, the dunk in 1993. So just history oozes out of this place.
One of the dunks.
One of the dunks.
I don't have the
right.
Scottie Pippen dunk on the wall on Patrick Ewing.
That's true.
I think that should go up there.
A lot of fans here. I've seen some Illini gear walking around. There are 2 games here tonight I went into following the Illinois and Texas game, so some really good matchups in this one. Derek, I mean, Illinois coming off that loss against Maryland. We can go there now. Terrence Shannon Jr., the cut above the eye. He's going to be good to go in this one. But Illinois needs maybe some of those younger guys to get this kind of experience and be ready to go in games like this one.
You got to learn from the game against Maryland. Of course, you're not going to have the same type of raucous environment. We're talking to Tyler.
That one was raucous.
At first on Twitter, they said it was going to be a pretzel that got thrown at the bench. No, he said it was a half-eaten chicken wing. That came from the crowd there in College Park towards the bench, but Jameer Young, point guard veteran, gave Illinois a lot of problems. Yeah. Sky Clark and Jaden Epps, for the most part, struggled. When you look at Jaden in foul trouble, Sky had some turnovers. They're going to have to play a lot better tonight against even a further step up in Tyrese Hunter and Marcus Carr. And like you were saying, to complement Terrence Shannon, who's going to draw the attention of one of the best defenses in the country. Chris Beard knows him well, recruited him to Texas Tech. And it's the Beard no-middle defense where they're really good at clogging up that lane, using their athleticism, their physicality. And Illinois' young guards are going to have to play more steady. I think defensively is probably the first thing I'm looking for, is trying to make sure that Tyrese and Marcus don't get downhill and don't get rolling early on, because those guys have shown that when they're hot like they were against Gonzaga, those 2 combined for 42 points, it's tough to win on the opposing side of that.
Let's talk about that Shannon and Beard connection, because Shannon says things are fine, they have a good relationship, but certainly between the people of Lubbock and Chris Beard, things did not end on a good note when he took the job at Texas. So this is the first time that, I shouldn't say first time, Big 12 play last year, Shannon has got the experience of playing against Chris Beard, but I still imagine a little bit weird competing against a guy that recruited you like that.
Yeah, it's got to be. And now Terrence has moved on in his own right, so I think that maybe he understands that you're trying to find greener pastures, and it's been a good move for Chris Beard. I think that obviously with what Texas can pay you and the resources they have, it's a step up from Texas Tech. And for Terrence, he's back in his home state, and he's the star player for the Illini and off to a really, really good start. But yeah, the dynamic of the head coach that you originally committed to, you played 2 seasons for, you went to a Sweet 16, now to see on the opposing side, yet again, like you mentioned, they've gone toe-to-toe in the Big 12. It'd be kind of cool, a cool dynamic.
Yeah, we've been out here on the East Coast for a while, so I've seen you do the research on Texas. I want to know what you've seen watching their games. Do you think they're for real this year?
I do. Now, when you look at Gonzaga, who they steamrolled there in Austin, they've won by nearly 20 and put up 90-plus points. Is Gonzaga typical Gonzaga? Their guard play's not as good this year. We saw them almost take a loss to Michigan State, and they just look a little bit down. But still, I think that this Texas squad, in terms of their athleticism, in terms of the way they defend, they're definitely for real. I love their guards, and that's usually something that you really like to have going into March, is 2 high-level guards that are experienced, and they're playing a lot better together, that being Tyrese Hunter and Marcus Carr, than last year. They had Courtney Ramey in that mix. They had Devin Askew in that mix. It never really fully clicked for that Texas squad. This year, with some transfers, I think Beard's got a better mix. And some of the keys for them, though, one knock on them, I would say, is they're not the best three-point shooting team. No. So I think if you can keep them in the half court, make some of those other guys around them shoot threes, you have a chance to put them in some scoring droughts, which maybe Illinois can do tonight with their defense.
Okay, what does Illinois have to do tonight against the second-ranked Longhorns to come out with the victory?
Your offense has to help your defense, and the fact of Texas can really turn you over. They're one of the top teams in the country at turning people over, which of course leads to transition game where they have great guard play, athleticism. Dylan Mitchell, he's a projected lottery pick for a reason, a McDonald's All-American freshman that is just a freak athlete at 6'8". They got athletic bigs that can really run the floor. If you're allowing them to get up and down and letting their defense turn into offense, you're going to be in for a long night. So Illinois has to take care of the ball. They have to get good shots. And also with the way the Longhorns can really pack it in, like they're going to try to take away Terrence Shannon's driving lane. Same thing with guys like RJ. I think you got to be able to hit threes on the perimeter. They will give you some three-point looks. And another thing to look at is Dane Danger, who really got settled in there in that Maryland game, provided the Terps with a challenge because of his ability to score there in the paint. Texas, while they're athletic in the front court, they don't have the tallest of guys to play at the 5. Their starter and Dylan DeSuze 6'9". They bring Christian Bishop off the bench at 6'7". I think that Dane's ability to score in the post can be something that can really stress that Texas defense. So play inside out, feed Dane. When they crash inside, you got to hit threes. Those are the things I'm looking for out of Illinois.
Yeah, for me, where Illinois is at in this season, the season is not won or lost with this game tonight. But it feels like with how young this team is that a win can go a long way towards propelling them, some momentum going before they get into Big Ten play next month.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. You got Penn State coming up this weekend as your first Big Ten home game. I'm not worried about them. I think that there's just so much to gain. I don't think there's a ton to lose. I think if you were to lose tonight, the number 2 team in the country, of course you don't want to get blown out and look like you don't belong on the same floor as one of the best in the country, but you have an opportunity to, as far as just your team makeup and growth, really take some strides forward with seeing a really good backcourt, seeing a really athletic team, seeing the type of team that you have to beat deep in the tournament. There could be something to be said for that learning experience, also momentum, which is a big deal, and then you look at the resume. This is one you'd put right up there with the win against UCLA that could really move the needle on your resume come in March and talk about seeding. Is it ever too early to talk about seeding? I don't know.
Well, we're talking about it anyway.
When you're a team that's projected to go in the NCAA tournament, it's a chance to really build on that. And it's another one of those environments, similar to Vegas, where you're on a neutral floor. You got some high-level teams in town. That's what the game script is there in March. So a chance to really test yourself and see how ready you are. And then the parts where you fall short, you clean up and work on as you go throughout the season.
All right, let's get some players to watch now from you, and then your score prediction for tonight's game gets tipped off here in 20 minutes or so, I want to say. Still a lot of people on the concourse. People got to make their way to their seats.
That's right. I think for Texas, obviously, it goes back to their guard play. It goes to Tyrese Hunter is someone that's a great defender. And one thing to note, both on him and Marcus Carr. Marcus Carr dropped 15 pounds this offseason, so looks a little lighter, a little more mobile than he was as a kind of a thick guard there when he played at Minnesota. Those guys can really ball pressure you, can really get into you. Texas aggressive in the passing lanes, but so for those two, that's where it really starts for Texas. Those guys are microwave type of scorers, can create their own shot, can get in the lane off the bounce, can shoot the three. And Hunter last year, well, he's the Big 12 freshman of the year at Iowa State. The three-point shot was really inconsistent. Now, he shot it better this year. If he adds the three-point game with his burst off the dribble, he's a good athlete, good defender, good luck dealing with that dude. So you hope that he's not shooting the three well tonight. I think for Illinois, of course, you can pinpoint the freshman guards. I mentioned Dane. I think he's a big factor in this game. And while we always go back to him, boy, would it be nice for a Matthew Meyer game.
Yeah, sure would.
As a bounce back off of having foul trouble against Maryland, just didn't provide any kind of an impact. Could use his shot making, could use him, and someone that's been really active on the glass when he's been on the floor. And as I mentioned, this is an athletic, long Texas team. You could use Matt, who's played the Longhorns in a lot of Big 12 competition as well.
To say that he's familiar with the Longhorns, growing up with all of that stuff where he did, right in the middle of Longhorn
Familiar with
country.
Beard, familiar with Texas.
Exactly. He's used to them. All right, what is your score prediction in this one?
I have Texas getting it done. I think once again, I think it's a close game. I think Illinois hangs tough. I think that ultimately it's hard when you have this inexperience at guard. And I think that as we go through the season, we'll see the maturation process of Sky and Jaden. And also, as we talked about with Maryland, that game is just how do you execute down the stretch? How do you pinpoint, okay, this is what we go to in this situation? I think Illinois is still figuring that out while Texas is more older, more cohesive. I think Texas ultimately pulls away at the end. 72-65, 7-point win for Texas. Cover the spread, which I think is about 2.5 as we go into tonight.
Yeah, it is. I hate to say it. I mean, we were right against Maryland. We both had the Terps in that one. It was closer than we had anticipated it being, I think. But I have to agree with you in this one, I think. I think Texas is going to win. I have it a little bit of a high-scoring game. I also think Texas wins by a little bit bigger margin. I have them 80-68 in this one. So what it would mean for Illinois to prove us wrong would be huge. I mean, it's going to be a good game no matter what, because Illinois has played in every single game so far this season. They've only had 2 losses, but they were right there in each one of those. So they're looking to keep that going at least against a really good opponent in Texas here at a neutral site. Derek, what are some final things in these few minutes people have before the game gets started? They can read at IlliniInquirer.com to get get them ready.
Got my 3 keys in a pick that you can check out. Full breakdown of this matchup. Check out both of our Amani Hansberry coverage. Right. It was great catching up with him and his parents. I wrote a story about Chester's impact in that recruitment. It was really cool to get the insight of how he infiltrated his way into that family and did a great job. And they're really excited to get Champaign next year. And you guys did stories as well, highlights to check out. So me, Jeremy, Joey are all here in New York. We'll have a lot of post-game coverage, early flight in the morning.
Oh, boy.
We got to crank out some writing. Yeah. But, we got a lot of things to check out at Illini Inquirer and check out your guys' stuff as well.
Yeah, early flight in the morning is an underscore for, I think, we might not sleep. Might just stay up all night turning content, but we do it because we love it. It should be a fun one here from Madison Square Garden in New York. Wherever you're watching this right now, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, our webpage, our app, wherever it happens to be, you can watch Brad Underwood's post-game press conference after the game in that same spot. So be sure to tune back in here. Also coming up tonight at 10 on air, you can watch highlights from this matchup, including my story from the game as well. So be sure to tune in for that. And then it will be uploaded, of course, to WCIA.com afterwards as well. We appreciate you spending your time before the game with us. We're about 15 to 20 minutes now away from first tip in this one. For Derek, I'm Andy. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you after the game.